Greetings, chess fans. It's time for yet another recap because I'm right now in the middle of a tournament. I am in Serbia, a small village called Bajina Bashta, very close to the border of Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. First time I'm here, and it's also my most serious exam to prepare accordingly for the upcoming FIDE World Cup. This is round 6. I already had played 5 games against very serious opposition. Most of them are seasoned grandmasters rated over 2600. Some of them have been rated 2700. I played against a former European champion of year 2024, chess theoreticians, crazy defenders, and a huge practitioners. So yeah, this is really hard event. That's why I chose it. So in round number 6, I was playing against another player of that caliber, and his name is Aleksandr Predke. So Alexander used to be almost rated 2700 a couple of years ago. He's one of the leading Serbian players, and right now his rating has declined a bit, like he's rated 2600 something. I would say basically the same story like with Ferenc Berkes, with whom I played 2 rounds ago. But I mean, obviously, he's a top 100 level player in the world, known for his theoretical knowledge. So I'm thinking, what should I do against the guy? Obviously, Reti is the answer. Yeah, so lately, Reti has been my pet choice, pet weapon in most of the games that I have played. And I have talked about this more than once, definitely, but the reason why I like it is that it gives you a lot of freedom to improvise between the choices. And also, I have noticed that quite often the opponents there are a bit more predictable exactly against Reti. So after knight f3, knight f6, c4, there's the deviation from the previous 2 games that I played in the tournament, because against Kartekian, I played g3 and he responded bv5. Against Berkes, I played g3, he responded with b6. Here I had a different idea. I played c4. I had my reasoning. I just wanted slightly surprise the opponent. And mostly I was expecting that my opponent's going to play the Queen's Indian. So that's why I spent the entire morning to review all kinds of ideas, what you can do against the Queen's Indian, this h4 idea that I play against Berkes. I wanted to try something else and see how it goes. But my opponent played e6, which, by the way, doesn't really rule out the Queen's Indian. But after g3, he played d5. And this is something that I don't think, if I remember correctly, that Predke had played frequently. Like, he didn't really have so many games, at least with this move order. But yeah, I mean, of course, he does play the Catalan. Bishop e7, castles, and castles. So this is, I call it the Neo-Catalan. And the reason why I delay pushing the d pawn forward, because I'm avoiding some sidelines. For example, here, if I would include d4, this simply gives black more opportunities. Like there's this check on b4, again, which is not dangerous, but there's simply more lines to learn. And there's also the early d takes on c4, which is getting very popular these days. So why I'm avoiding all of this is that now, in case black decides to take on c4, I can give a check. I take on c4, and in some lines, I don't play d4 anymore. I can even play d3 and e4 to limit the knight on f6. So there's some different nuances. And of course, staying true to the principle, if you close some doors, you open new doors. And of course, black has the opportunity to play d4. But I think this is a bit aggressive choice. And Predke didn't strike me as a player who plays like this. I mean, of course, he's a very principled player, but I think mostly he's a solid. So, castles. Well, I decided to try the classical Catalan d4. He took on c4. I play queen c2. So before I play this, I very quickly tried to recall what I had recently played. There was one embarrassing game where I had mixed up the opening in the Czech league. Of course, I immediately remember that. Never to do that again. And there's like, again, a million choices for black. And he played c5. So c5 is a pretty rare move. I think that by far the most popular move here is a6. So if you take on c4, black wants to play b5 and solve the problem of the so-called bad Catalan bishop on c8. So that's why I would play a4, bishop d7, queen c4, bishop c6, and this is the start of a really major theory. And I just wanted to test some things and see what happens. But c5, I gotta say, I was facing for the first time in my life. And you might be wondering, I mean, this is such a logical move, isn't it, right? I mean, what's the big deal? Just take on c4 or take on c5 and be done with this. So what's so unexpected about this move? Well, I think here it's quite also important to understand the philosophy of the Catalan, because in the Catalan, not always the symmetrical pawn structure gives black a satisfactory game. So let me show you one example. I take on c5. Yeah, this is what I played in the game. Let's say if he takes it, I could take it here. For example, he, I don't know, retreats, let's say here, and I could play something like knight c3, knight c6. I could play rook d1. It's a bit tough to understand where to put the queen. Let's say queen a5, and black is suffering a bit. I mean, this bishop on c8 is not feeling great. And there might be moments, like not this one, but similar moments, when I could try to play against the bishop on c8. And the pawn on b7 then is also targeted. So if he defends the pawn, there's bishop f4. So what I'm saying is that even though we have a symmetrical pawn structure on the board, black is suffering, yeah? And this is something you can see in my bootcamp. I made a bootcamp about the Catalan ideas from the white's perspective several years ago. So that's why, yeah, this c5 move is a bit unexpected. So my opponent played knight c6. And I think the idea is he wants to play e5 at some point and solve the problem of the Catalan bishop, but he does it at the expense of the pawn. I mean, I was already out of the book. Like, I have not looked at this line ever. Basically, like, I know how to play the Catalan, but this particular setup I just didn't know. And I was thinking, of course, I can grab the pawn on c4, or maybe I could play something like knight d2 and take with the knight. But yeah, but then he plays e5, knight c4, and probably something like e4. And judging by the speed how my opponent played, this is probably some very deep prep. So that's why I decided just to take with the queen. And now I was not really afraid of e5 because I thought, you know, in the worst case, if I find nothing, I can play knight c3, bishop e6, give up the pawn on c5, and play, I was not really sure, something like bishop g5. So I'm pinning the pieces. If he tries to kill my bishop, I play knight e4, take on c5, oh, sorry, queen, yeah, I think it was queen e7, something like this. Yeah, so again, it might not be a lot. Yeah, actually, now that I look at it, it's completely equal, but maybe I can still find some pressure. So this is one of the sample lines I was looking at, but it's possible I could even play knight g5. Yeah, this is also an idea I saw. And even though black has solved the problem of the light square bishop, I do control this square. Like here could be knight e4, could be rook d1, again could be bishop g5. Again, don't let you fool yourself that it seems like it's a symmetrical pawn structure on the board. It's not always equal. So he played queen d5. Again, he played it very quickly. And I was spending time with every single move because I was not familiar with the position. And I was thinking, okay, I mean, probably take on d5 is like not great. He has at least two good moves. So move number one is e takes on d5. And even though I get an IQP, he just looks so active here, and I'm not in time to block the d4 square. So there's that. But probably also knight takes on d5 looks perfectly playable. I could play something like a3. He could even recapture. And if I play b4, what about bishop d4 here? I was looking at these lines, and is this great even? Like I'm underdeveloped? Okay, maybe I play something like rook a2, I'm okay. But I was not sure this is good. Of course, he can just play a5 and then collect a pawn. And the best case I can do is something like this, and maybe put the knight on d2, but he solves the problems and he's safe. So that's why I was not really seriously considering this. And I was thinking, I mean, how do I get a game? How do I get a game? Because if I want to draw, I can, of course, trade off every single piece and be done with it. But I want to fight. And you know, there's something you should know about myself. I am not a big fan of playing against strong opposition and being unable to pose any questions to them. Like they're comfortably making a draw without making any single move of themselves by just executing their knowledge, and I am agreeing to a draw. I don't like to play like that. I mean, I'm sometimes, of course, I'm doing this when, let's say, I don't want to play, or I'm tired, or I'm playing with a friend. Sure, I can make quick draws. But when I'm in a competitive mode, never ever, when I'm playing with a white color, I don't want to let my opponent get away with sort of feeling of comfort that, I mean, I was unable to cause any problems, and they just immediately solve the problems. So that's why the most important thing for me very often is to get them feel the fear that they can lose. Yeah, this is what I try to do. So when I'm playing against very good opponents like Predke, like Cheparinov, like Berkesh, I want them to generally feel that they can lose. Then I'm pretty happy. Yeah? So I found move 92. It took me quite a while to find it. And I thought it's a very interesting idea because, for example, if he takes on c5, I thought I can put the knight on b3. And I kind of knew the idea from some other Catalan lines. Let's say if he plays bishop b6, I play knight c3. And now you see my bishop is open. And suddenly there's some knight a4 ideas and knight c5 ideas, and I'm applying some serious pressure here. So again, we have a symmetrical pawn structure, but I mean, black is not doing great here at all. And the same applies if he will play bishop e7. Again, I mean, I could play like knight c3. He suffers because of the bishop. Here, maybe same knight a4, maybe something like bishop e3, rook d1, rook c1, knight c5, or bishop c5. I'm having a fantastic position. I love these positions. But I mean, it took me again for quite a while to find a move knight e2. And after the game, I checked the database. This is an actual novelty. So my opponent told me after the game, knight f to d2 is top choice by the engine. I was able to find it myself over the board. He'd analyzed it still, but this is the most critical move. So the entire line of c5, knight c6, queen d5 is already pretty rare. Knight e2, I made a novelty. And I was very happy to hear this after the game. So he played queen h5, keeping the tension. I mean, I don't want to defend the pawn like knight c3. He's going to play knight b3. He's going to play like e5. He's incredibly active. I mean, like bishop e6 or bishop h3, of course. I'm not going to do that. I have to complete development. So if he takes on c5, he might have some problems of his army coordination. Yeah, so the queen needs to defend it. There's knight b3, a4, and bishop f4, and again, he's suffering. So what did he do? He played rook d8. I think it makes perfect sense because here e5, I think it's just bad because of knight e4. And again, he loses access to the d5 square. Like I could maybe take on f6 and at least play knight e5. Yeah, now I just don't see what does he even have for the pawn. So his position just looks outright dubious. So he played rook d8. And yeah, I mean, again, I was quite unhappy about the fact that he's playing so quickly and still apparently within the book. I looked at all the options, but decided that knight e4 is the safest, and it makes the most sense. He took on e4, of course, immediately. And here I had to make a pretty big choice. Because obviously I want to take with the knight. But I saw he's going to play knight e4 and hit the pawn on e2. I thought I could sacrifice it, just to complete development. But he plays e5. Again, he plays like bishop e6, or maybe even bishop h3, or bishop g4, and goes back for the knight. And I think actually black is fine. So that's why I decided to take with a queen. Again, I give up the pawn on c5, but I'm gonna get out my bishop, and I get sort of these Catalan vibes. Yeah, once again, bishop e3, and let's say if he takes on e3, queen takes on e3, something like bishop d7, I have some pressure again, yeah, like rook d1, rook c1, my good Catalan bishop against the bad Catalan bishop, and there's some annoying pressure against the pawn on b7. Everything was great, but where was the problem? I already had spent so much time. And I was like double checking every single move. Can he play a gambit? Can he go for unexpected kingston attack? I mean, like, until this moment, I think I had spent already 50 minutes of my time. And even here, I was looking for some silly moves like knight e4. And like, of course, I realized it just makes no sense, but I mean, maybe he has some e5 and bishop 5 ideas. So in the end, I decided I'm going to play b4 and a4. So I don't think that this entire sequence for him, it's going to work. Or was it not a4? Was it rook d1 here? I was planning, I think it was like this, e5 and then a4. Or was it a4 immediately? Yeah, I mean, this idea is just looking really convincing. There's no bishop f5 because of queen e5. So that was the one idea I had to see. And of course, he played bishop b4. So I kind of regretted I wasted like 10 minutes looking into bishop e3. And now we are out of the opening, and my opponent got up, and I realized probably his analysis ends about here. So he had 1 hour and basically 1 hour and 30, and I had 40 minutes on the clock. So what is he doing? He's threatening to win a pawn. But he's underdeveloped. And I decided to make a pretty easy move, rook f to d1, which kind of makes sense. Yeah, here, by the way, the chess.com engine is silly. I don't know, it just goes completely crazy. Queen c4, like a genius move, plus 1.8. I think I saw it in the broadcast. That's so ridiculous. I mean, come on, just take on c3. Queen c3 collects a pawn on e2, and b takes on c3 is bishop d7. I mean, black is like completely okay. So this is a glitch of the transmission. I played rook d1. After the game, my opponent told me he didn't know this move. I think he was expecting some other move, like engine also likes queen c2, queen c4 immediately, but then black always takes on c3. So I played rook d1. His only move is bishop d7 because of bishop takes on c3. There's a very cool queen c6. I mean, yeah, it looks cool, but obviously the point is he has back rank issues. Yeah, so he cannot take the queen because of a very basic checkmate. So he played bishop d7. I play queen c4. And now comes the critical moment of the game. At this point, I already had reached he had about 1 hour more on the clock. So he had like 1 hour and 29 or something. I had like almost 30 minutes, maybe 35. And he very quickly took on c3. Like in 3 minutes or so. I thought this is so risky. This is so risky for my opponent because, I mean, you give me 2 bishops. And I really know how to handle 2 bishops. And mostly I was expecting queen a5. By the way, I think I also should mention what's the idea of queen c4. I want to play queen b5 and some lines. For example, here, like I was thinking I could do this and this, and I still have my Catalan pressure. I mean, engine says that a4 for some reason is very good, probably with the idea to play queen b5 and a takes on b5, which is something that didn't cross my mind, but okay. So anyway, I play queen c4. The best move for black is queen a5. a3, this is what I wanted to do. Otherwise, I mean, rook c1 is going to be rook c8, and black is completing development. And I was pretty happy to play this. Like, I have 2 bishops, risk-free position, and I thought, you know, in case I'm running completely out of ideas. In the worst case, I can always just take on c6 and collect a pawn. Yeah, and of course it's a draw because obstacle the bishops and my pawns are weak, but it's just a draw. So I thought, okay, I mean, I could always do this. But my opponent decided to go bishop c3. And of course I took with a queen because I thought that b takes on c3 is just such a chicken move, basically, just to protect the pawn. So queen takes on c3 is an easy move. He took on e2. I played rook d2. And here, I was mostly expecting queen a6 so that he tries to defend the queen side. And apparently here, I did not see this during the game. I was planning a move bishop f1, which Engine marks as a mistake because of queen a4. But Engine says that a4, bishop e8 and b4 is incredibly good. Yeah, now that I look at it, indeed, yeah, so white is completely dominating and the threat of b5 is killing. So he played queen h5 very quickly, got up from the board, and he looked very confident. And I realized that he expects me to play rook a d1, so that after bishop e8, he's threatening queen d1. Yeah, this unexpected threat. And after rook d8, knight e8, my rook becomes undefended, and he plays bishop c6 and keeps the pawn. Pretty smart, right? But I'm also not born yesterday. So I was thinking, what else is there? And I played queen b3. And I thought this is a very annoying move. So, how do you meet it? Because if you play b6, there's going to be rook d7 and bishop c6. And black is lost. You cannot do that. If you play rook b8, I can just double the rooks here. I can take on d8 and thank you for the pawn on a7. And now my rook on d1 is defended by the queen on b3, as you can see. It's defended. What's the move? And here my opponent spends so much time. Like, there's also a cute idea that knight a5, with the idea to play bishop c6, has a cute refutation as queen d1, takes, and he loses a piece. You see this bishop is pinned. So in the end, he played bishop e8, and he spent like half an hour, but I could see he was so unhappy about his position. I think he genuinely felt that he's in trouble because of this move queen b3. So he played bishop e8. Actually, I thought during the game that the critical move was queen a5. And he cannot, I cannot take on b7 because of rook b8. My queen is trapped. And I saw b4, intermezzo move, but there's queen e5. Another intermezzo move. So he hits my rook at a1. My queen is dropping and I lose. But I was planning to play rook d1. And now the obvious move, queen c7, is just losing because of bishop f4. If he plays queen c8, it's just nice. Bishop takes on c6. And b takes on c6, queen b4, queen e7. He's losing because of the pin. And if he plays e5, I play bishop g5, hitting again the rook. There's no f6 here because of the pin. And after knight e4, takes queen b7, it's curtains. Game over. I'm just winning. So I saw the line. But anyway, I was expecting that he's going to play bishop e8 here. And now the point is after queen b7, rook b8, he sort of traps my queen. I saw I have b4, so he needs to control the c7 square. If he plays queen e5, I think I had queen a6. And again, his position looks quite shaky. But what was the line? I don't think I even looked at this line at all. But anyway, you can see that the rook at a8 is under attack, so he has to give away something, and his position just makes no sense. I think there's bishop f4. Yeah, I think I'm winning. Bishop f4 takes and takes. At least there's this. Maybe not winning, but having very good position. And I was expecting he's gonna do something like this. I don't think I saw this line until the very end, f6, but it looks like black is fine. I have two rooks for the queen. He has a pawn. He's pretty safe. He can play king f7 next. So according to an engine, it's pretty balanced. I think I just saw until the move b4, and I thought if he plays knight b4, I play queen a8, and this is where I stopped. So he didn't go there. He played bishop e8, which is the sort of the human move. Of course, I took the pawn on b7 immediately because I cannot include rook to 8 key takes of the knight, and I cannot win the pawn anymore. So I took on b7, Rook d to b8 here makes no sense. There's queen c7, the bishop is pinning the knight. So he played rook takes on d2, and here, the $1,000,000 question. Which rook to take? And I gotta confess, like, I was running out of time. Like, I had to already allocate enough time to get to the second time control. I basically guessed. I had no time. Because, I technically had like 25 minutes, but these lines are so deep. So I was guessing that bishop takes on d2 is the correct move. Well, unfortunately, I think it was the wrong guess. But I mean, these lines are very long and not easy to calculate. So if I had took on a8, he will play rook d8, queen b7. He has to give a check. Takes. He plays f6. And I have some pressure. Now, this is what the engine says. Play f4 to limit the knight on c6. He plays h5. 0.4 for white. There's a pressure. But ultimately, black should be able to hold it. I would love to play this under normal circumstances, unless I'm seeing something better. And I think I saw something better. So I took with the bishop. And now the idea is that my queen on b7 is sort of more annoying than in that line. So he played rook b8. And again, I kind of guessed with the move queen c7 because queen a6 was another move. So I'm hitting the knight, I'm hitting the pawn, and he has some major issues. And here engine gives some crazy line like knight e4, which, I mean, is a pretty human move, to be honest. I take the pawn, he gives a check, he takes on b2. I play queen e7, queen b5, I play a4, queen b8. And here, according to an engine, this is somehow ending with a draw, but I have a lot of easy moves. My a-pawn rolls forward, he trades off the light square bishop. I mean, incredibly sensible line. Queen a3, knight e4, my king is now weak. King g1, and it ends with some kind of a draw. I cannot make a progress, I have to go back, king g1, and I cannot play a7 because of queen a8. He gives up the rook but threatens with a checkmate, and if I go here, there's rook b3. Stuff like that, yeah? So, I mean, obviously, I didn't see none of this. I was already trying to play faster, but if I had more time, I would have definitely considered also this choice. But I played queen c7, and I just felt like, why should I even look in the direction of these other moves when I have this tempting move? And bishop takes on c6 is a big threat. And mostly I was expecting only queen e5. After queen e5, I thought I'm going to take it, play b3, and welcome to the suffering, my friend. Like, I'm going to torture you here for a very, very, very long time. So he cannot trade the bishops here. I play bishop f4, and he loses because of some tactics. So I was like feeling really good at this moment. And there came the shocker. He did take the pawn on b2. And when I saw this, I was like, I can't believe it. Like, wait, this has got to be winning for white, right? I mean, there's no way. I mean, he has back rank issues. The knight on c6 is hanging, and there's no way it works, right? But also, my experience tells me if a very strong grandmaster spent a lot of time, and he did play rook takes on b2, it probably works. Okay, but let's try to calculate. And I spent, again, most of the time trying to figure out what happens here. So the point is, bishop takes on c6 is queen c5. He pins my knight, hits my bishop, and wants to play queen c6. If I play queen c8, he plays queen c6. If I try to exploit the back rank, I'm not in time to play bishop b4 check. Bishop is not, I mean, the b4 square is not defended. I'm thinking, okay, but then I can play rook c1. He plays rook c2. The same stuff. Yeah, looking for all kind of intermezzo moves, etc. Nothing works. Like, I thought I can play rook b1 maybe, but he plays rook d2. Also, there's a very cute line. If he takes on c6, I'm winning because of the back rank, like this. But unfortunately, he takes the bishop, and now this is a checkmate threat. So I play queen f4, a double attack on the rook and the bishop, but he plays rook d8. And again, I have nothing. And the more time I spend, I cannot find it. Where's the refutation? I'm looking at queen c8, obviously, but there's rook b8. I cannot do that. I'm looking at bishop c3. He plays rook b6. And again, queen c8 is rook b8. I cannot do that. So basically, the more time I was spending, I was running out of ideas. By the way, again, here was a very cute line. Bishop c6 and bishop b4 check. Again, this motif is repeating itself again. And I just realized I have to take on c6. Maybe I'm going to find something still with fresh set of eyes. I play rook c1. Of course, he played rook c2. And I don't see any moves, really. I couldn't believe it. But I suppose, again, chess is once again a very concrete game. And I just decided, okay, whatever. Let's just trade it and let's just make a draw. Because if I can't win it, then just don't lose it, right? And I thought maybe it makes sense to include bishop b3 to get to the pawn on a7 first, force the queen trade, because bishop c6 loses due to queen c8 check and mate. But he would include a6 anyway. And I felt this is simply unnecessary risk. I just play queen c8, forcing him to trade the queens. Very important that he couldn't give me a check and take on c6. Also, by the way, notice it would be incredibly silly of me to keep the queens on the board. Just a second, why my chess space is freezing. Like queen a7, queen c6, this is incredibly dangerous position. Like the pawn on a7 doesn't matter. My king is weak. He will play something like h6, queen d5, bring the bishop on c6, and what's going on? Just a second. All right. Yeah, and he would take over the game because of a lot of light squares. So in the end, what happened is I forced a queen trade, and we reached an obstacle of bishop endgame. Just a second. My computer is so overloaded with things. I offered a draw. He rejected it, and I very quickly showed the right setup that, I mean, this is not how you play for the win. Automatically played a lot of moves, and after a couple of moves, we agreed to a draw. Yeah. Except my laptop is acting quite funny. Yeah, there you go. This is the final position. We agreed to draw. This is a very, very basic fortress. Black has an extra pawn, but he cannot make any progress. The pawn on h3 is easily defended. Obstacle of bishops. There's very good reason why these endgames are drawn. But, you know, I was like quite surprised that this defense, it did work for him. And of course, in the postmortem analysis, I realized that the correct move, this was taking the rook on a8. So after queen c7, he's holding everything. Let me again put it on the board. So this is the final mistake. Rook takes on b2 is a genius move. Fantastic calculation by a top grandmaster. And I also thought that the entire game was of very high value. And I'm feeling pretty happy that I was able to make a pretty interesting novelty. Knight after d2. And overall, I have nothing really to complain about. The unfortunate thing is that I have made my 6th draw in a row, but again, like every round I'm playing against 2600 plus level guys. Some of them have been 2700, so I have nothing really to complain about. So, another day, another draw. Now 6 draws in a row. But the game was not boring, right? And I think those of you who are following, you can agree that drawn chess is not always boring because these lines were pretty exciting. And as if you are watching this video, I'm playing already round 7. When I'm recording the video, I don't know who's going to be my opponent. Probably a young Turkish talent. I have a strategy what to play against him. I haven't yet started the prep, but we'll see how it's going to go. So wish me luck. So I'm going to end the video right here. Please share your thoughts. What do you think about it? What do you think about the game, about the Catalan itself? Press like as usual. And if you enjoy my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. So Have a great day. I'm signing out.